I never planned on confessing any of this to strangers, but here I am anyway. My name is the husband who promised forever to Emily, the woman I've shared a bed and a life with for 12 years, and am the one who destroyed it the moment my lips touched her best friend's. My hands won't stop shaking as I type this. Like if I hit send too fast, the words might burn through the screen and reach her somehow. We were the couple everyone pointed to and said, "See, that's how you do it." 12 years of quiet mornings with coffee in the same mugs, of her head on my shoulder during movies we'd seen 100 times. I still remember the way she used to trace lazy circles on my back when we fell asleep, like the world outside could wait. But somewhere along the way, the circles stopped and the bed just felt cold. The truth is our marriage had gone numb months ago. Emily's endless work trips left me rattling around our empty suburban house like a ghost, my own job draining the last of my energy. The silence at night so heavy I started wondering if this was all there was, until the isolation became a kind of slow-burning crisis I couldn't name out loud. I'd come home and the lights would still be off, the way I left them. Her suitcase by the door one day, gone the next, a note on the counter that said "Back Friday, love you," in the same handwriting that once made my chest tight with how much I needed her. The fridge hummed louder than usual. My footsteps echoed on the hardwood like they belonged to someone else. At night, I'd sit on the edge of our bed, palms pressed to the sheets where her body should have curved into mine, and feel this slow ache spread behind my ribs. Not anger, not even sadness exactly, just this heavy, nameless want for something to remind me I was still here, still breathing, still wanted. I'd stare at the ceiling until my eyes burned, telling myself tomorrow would be different, that when she came home we'd talk, really talk. Like fog rolling in off the lawn and pressing against the windows until I couldn't see out anymore. It began with ordinary visits. Emily would text Lisa, her best friend since college, asking her to swing by and check on me while she was gone for days at a time. Those texts from Emily would ping around 6, always casual, Lisa's swinging by, make sure you eat something that didn't come from a box. And did catch myself smiling at the phone before I could stop it. Lisa had been part of us forever. The friend who remembered how I'd take my coffee, who laughed at my terrible dad jokes even when Emily was too tired to. Her car would pull up slow, headlights sweeping across the front porch, and it'd be at the door before she killed the engine, heart doing this stupid little skip I pretended was just relief at not being alone. She'd step out with that paper bag in one hand, coat slipping off one shoulder, and the night air would carry in the faintest trace of rain on her hair. She'd say, voice soft like she knew the house felt too big. The hug was quick at first, arms around my waist, cheek brushing my collarbone for half a second, but each time she came, that half-second stretched. I could feel the warmth of her through her sweater, the way her breath ghosted warm against my neck when she murmured, "You okay?" I'd breathe her in without meaning to, tell myself it was nothing, just people keeping each other company while Emily chased deadlines in cities I couldn't picture. Would end up in the kitchen, her unpacking containers while I poured wine we both knew I didn't need. Her laugh would cut through the quiet like it had been waiting for permission, and for those minutes the house didn't feel haunted anymore. I'd watch her tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, the way the light caught on her wrist, and something inside me would loosen. Just a little. Then she'd check her phone, sigh, and say she should head out. The hug at the door again, her body close enough that I felt the press of her shoulder against mine, the briefest squeeze before she pulled back. "Text if you need anything," she'd whisper, eyes holding mine a beat longer than they should. The door would click shut and the warmth would vanish, leaving me standing there with my hand still on the knob. Pulse loud in my ears, the empty hallway stretching out behind me darker than before. I'd lean my forehead against the wood and close my eyes, shame twisting low in my stomach because I already knew. I was starting to count the hours until her next visit. And that feeling? It terrified me more than the silence ever had. The first micro cracks appeared in the kitchen, quiet and sneaky, the kind you don't notice until the whole foundation shifts. Lisa had dropped by with a bag of fresh herbs, saying she remembered how I liked to cook when the house felt too still. She passed me a mug of tea, our hands brushing in that small space between us, her fingers warm and lingering just a fraction too long. Her face so close I could see the faint flush on her cheeks. I told myself it was nothing, just her friends helping each other pass the time, filling the gaps Emily's absences left behind like a bandage on a wound that wouldn't heal. But those touches kept happening, each one stacking like kindling waiting for a spark. We'd end up on the couch some evenings, Emily too tired from her latest trip to join us for the movie we'd picked. Lisa's shoulder would press against mine under the blanket, the heat of her seeping through, her breath steady and close as the screen flickered. I'd sit there frozen, pulse quickening, rationalizing it as harmless comfort, the sort of thing old friends do when one of them is unraveling in the silence. Then there were the hugs goodbye at the door, her arms wrapping around me, body fitting close, her breath warm against my neck, fingers tracing a slow path along my back for half a second longer than they should have. Each time she'd pull away with that soft smile, eyes holding mine a beat too long, and I'd feel the ache bloom deeper, shame twisting in my gut because this was wrong. So wrong, yet the loneliness made it feel like the only real thing left. I fought it every time, the internal war raging louder with every visit. She's Emily's best friend, I'd remind myself, the woman who's been part of our lives since college, the one who toasted us at our reception. I'm the husband who vowed forever, yet here I was, counting the minutes until her car pulled up again, hating how her nearness made the empty rooms feel less like a cage. The rational part of me screamed to keep distance, to stop the almost moments before they became something I couldn't take back. But the other part, the one drowning in the quiet, surrendered to the gravity of her presence, pulled like a tide I couldn't fight. Then came the night. Emily was 3 states away, her flight delayed and her voice on the phone sounding distant as ever. Lisa showed up with a bottle of wine, her laugh cutting through the thick quiet as we poured glasses and let the words flow too freely. We talked about the loneliness that had been eating into the background of my own life, and the honesty hung heavy in the living room air. We were standing there, glasses set aside, the space between us shrinking without either of us moving. Her eyes locked on mine, dark and full of something I couldn't name but felt in my bones, and the world tilted. Soft at first, then urgent with a need that mirrored the hunger I'd been denying for months. It tasted of strawberry gloss and pure heat, her body pressing against me like it had been waiting years for this one stolen permission. The warmth of her flooded my senses, breath mingling in gasps, the electricity crackling where our skin touched through clothes. My mind screamed no. This can't happen, she's not mine to want, but my hands betrayed me, holding her closer in that suspended moment where everything almost broke wide open. I pulled back gasping, chest heaving, the room spinning as the reality of what we'd done crashed over me like cold water. Scorched into the air between us, and in that trembling silence I knew the ache I'd felt before was nothing compared to the storm now raging inside. That kiss didn't fade like some fleeting dream I could wake from, leaving me raw and restless for days, the kind of ache that made ordinary hours feel like they were pressing too close. Lisa slipped in through the side door with a casual excuse about borrowing a charger she didn't really need. We ended up in the same kitchen, the counter still warm from the coffee I'd poured earlier, and this time there was no slow circling. Her eyes caught mine and the space between us vanished in one shared breath. Quicker now, hungrier, her vanilla scent rushing over me like warm rain on dry skin. I forgot how to step back. Her hair brushed my cheek as our lips met again, softer at first than urgent, the kind of kiss that steals the air right out of your lungs and leaves you dizzy against the edge of the sink. Upstairs the shower hummed on, Emily humming faintly with it, while down here my hands hovered at Lisa's waist, feeling the heat of her through thin fabric, every inch of me screaming this is wrong yet pulling her a fraction closer anyway. I swore to myself that would be the last time, but the pull only grew stronger, like gravity deciding it had other plans for us. It started happening everywhere, these stolen pockets of time that left me shaking afterward, heart hammering so loud I was sure the whole neighborhood could hear. A forgotten scarf, she said, but her car stayed parked longer than it should. We stood between the fading light and the tall hedges, her shoulder grazing mine, breath visible in the cooling air. The kiss came sudden and quiet, her fingers brushing my wrist, the world narrowing to the warmth of her mouth, and the way her hair tickled my skin like a secret I wasn't supposed to keep. Another afternoon she picked me up from work, the front seat of her car suddenly too small, windows fogging just a little as our knees touched, and neither of us moved away. Her laugh died mid-sentence when our eyes locked, and then we were leaning across the console, lips meeting in that cramped space, her vanilla scent mixing with the leather seats while my pulse thundered in my ears. And once, God, against the garage wall, her body pressed close enough that I felt every small shift of her breathing, my back to the cool concrete as Emily's voice drifted from the open house door asking where I'd wandered off to. We froze mid-kiss, her mouth still on mine, the almost moment stretching until my hands gripped her tighter without meaning to, surrendering while terror and want crashed together inside my chest. Each time I pulled away afterward, I was trembling, desperate for the next one, even as shame coiled tighter in my gut. Every single encounter, her vanilla scent would flood my senses first, wrapping around me like it belonged there, her hair brushing soft against my cheek in that feather-light way that made my thoughts scatter. I'd tell myself this is just relief, just a kiss to remind me I'm still alive. It doesn't count as cheating if it's only this. Only mouths meeting in hidden corners while the rest of the world kept spinning without us. But my body would betray me every damn time. Heart hammering so hard it felt like it might crack ribs, hands gripping her tighter than I ever meant, surrendering completely to the pull while the rational part of me screamed that I was lying to both of us, lying to Emily upstairs or across town, lying to the vows I'd once believed in with my whole chest. Still I couldn't stop. The hunger kept building, each almost moment leaving me more undone than the last, like we were dancing closer and closer to the edge of something neither of us could name yet. Her breath warm and ragged against my neck while Emily's footsteps echoed somewhere too close. I felt the like racking open wider inside me, the storm shifting into something hungrier, something that whispered we weren't done falling. The guilt started carving me open in the days that followed, a slow ache that grew sharper with every ordinary glance from Emily, her complete trust shining in her eyes like it always had, while the memory of Lisa's mouth still burned on mine in quiet moments I couldn't escape. It left me standing there in the kitchen some mornings, her good morning kiss landing soft on my cheek, warm and familiar, and me fighting the urge to pull away because the contrast hit too hard. The heat from those hidden encounters still lingering like a shadow I carried alone, breath catching in my throat when she'd smile and ask about my night, completely unaware, my answers coming out steady on the surface, but inside I was unraveling thread by thread. The risk sharpened to when Lisa's texts would light up my phone right during family dinner, the screen flashing her name under the tablecloth as Emily passed the salad and talked about her week, my fingers brushing the device before I forced them still, the moral weight of it all pressing down until my chest felt tight and heavy. One evening it buzzed again, and I nearly dropped my fork, heart racing as I muttered something about a work message, all while imagining her words waiting there pulling me toward another almost. Or that tense night when Emily nearly walked into the garage, her voice floating closer through the open door, asking if I needed help with anything, forcing us to separate in a rush, the air between us still electric and thick with what we'd been sharing just seconds before. Every close call layered on more of that moral weight I could barely breathe under, the shame building like a storm cloud that followed me from room to room, whispering reminders of how wrong it was even as the craving refused to fade. Last night pushed it all to the brink after another frantic kiss in the garage, her presence so near I could sense the subtle shift in her breathing, the warmth radiating close enough to make my thoughts scatter. Emily's voice called out asking where it'd gone, light and curious as it drifted from the house, slicing through the tension like a blade. I froze against Lisa's lips, body going still while terror flooded every vein, her mouth still pressed to mine in that suspended second where everything hung in the balance. Then I made my choice, voice dropping to a whisper against her skin, "We can't stop now." The words tasting like both surrender and sin as I kissed her harder, letting the moment deepen even as my stomach twisted with fresh terror that clawed at my insides and left me dizzy with the weight of what I'd just chosen. It felt like the final step into the unknown, the pull winning over the fear in that heartbeat. So now my wife still doesn't suspect a thing, moving through our days with the same gentle rhythm, her laughter filling the rooms while this secret sits heavy in my chest like an anchor I can't lift. That first steamy forbidden kiss with her best friend has turned into something I can't walk away from, a current that swept me further than I ever imagined, leaving me tangled in the almost that feel more real than anything else. I'm sitting here typing this with shaking hands, the keys clicking softly in the stillness of the night, wondering if you've ever been this weak. This divided between the man I thought I was and the one who keeps leaning into the fire. Would you tell her, let the truth spill out and watch the foundation we built crack wide open? Or would you keep feeding the fire, chasing those breathless near moments until the whole life starts to burn from the edges inward? I'm still waiting for the answer myself, the ache settling deep as I stare at the screen, breath slow at the next haul or the next hidden glance might be the one that finally tips us over.